Congratulations to the Golden State Warriors on winning the 2022 NBA championship. It was a great overall NBA season, and in my opinion, it's actually cool to see the Warriors back on top because they have so many great players of individual stories on this team. But the one we're, of course, going to focus in on today is Steph Curry, and we're actually going to talk about what this championship means for Steph's legacy, how he's finally checked off that Finals MVP for his resume, and really his overall career and what he's done as an NBA player, why he's one of the all-time greats, and discussing is he now in the top 10 NBA players of all time. This has been kind of a discussion for a while, but it's been brought back up after the Warriors won this title because it's a serious discussion now and it's very interesting. So that's what I'm going to be looking in today's video. Just a quick video for today, but looking at Steph's career and deciding do we think he's in the top 10 or not. And at the end of the video, I want you guys to comment down below your thoughts. I'm not going to make my decision because I'm not really sure with all-time rankings. It's very difficult with different eras, but I want your guys' opinions. So at the end of the video, comment down below if you think Steph is top 10 after this championship or if he's just outside the top 10. That being said, let's get into it. Let's first take a look at Steph Curry's accolades and really his career resume. It's interesting looking at all-time debates because everyone really has a different criteria. I don't like to use accolades that much, but a lot of the time it does have to come into play. When we look at his main resume, he obviously has those 2 MVPs in his career, the first unanimous MVP ever in 2016, which is, of course, was an incredible season. He now has that Finals MVP checked off. He's a 4-time NBA champion, which is up there with some of the greatest of all time, of course. He's made all-time the most total 3-pointers, and he set that record this year, and he still has a lot of time to go. And he's made an all-NBA team 8 times in his career, and he's definitely not finished either. He is getting past his prime a little bit, but we see how he still has a few years left in him to build on this resume as well, this all-time great resume. So when we look at the accomplishments from Steph, it's really incredible what he's done in his career. And I was with the vast majority of people that thought that he didn't necessarily need to win that Finals MVP trophy to prove anything to anyone, but there were a lot of people out there that did think otherwise and thought that he needs to check off that box of his resume to really be considered in the conversation of top 10 all time, up there with some of the greatest of all time. And that's what he did. He went in there in that Celtics series this year and he completely dominated and has led his team and showed that he can be that #1 best player in the NBA Finals and lead his team to that point. It's definitely a myth that Curry isn't a good Finals player, but I still think that there were some people out there that he had to prove to that he can dominate and lead a team in the Finals, and he did that. Overall, the point is that his all-time resume and accolades is probably a top 10 resume of all time when you just look at those accolades and consider that he's not done yet either. Now let's talk about the incredibly unique and dominant actual game of Steph Curry and why this gives him a case to be top 10 as well. We all know what Steph is about: his incredible shooting, his great playmaking, and his impact on an offense, and his off-ball movement. And I would throw in there that he's an underrated defender as well, which I've been saying for a while, and I'm going to touch on that a little bit later as well. But when we talk about the offensive game of Steph, again, we all know how dominant he is. He's easily the greatest shooter of all time, and watching him play is just absolutely so fun to watch because it's just incredible to see how difficult he is to guard and how he really changed the game with shooting so many 3-point shots per game and the way that he moves off the ball and makes a whole team's offense look so unique and make opposing defenses need to come up with extremely unique strategies and cue the box and one that the Raptors ran against him in the 2019 finals. But yeah, that just shows, like, really just watching Steph with your eyes, it's so obvious to see how unique his game is and how dominant it can be and how he's changed the game with his 3-point shot. When we look at his shooting alone, it's just incredible what Steph's doing with his shooting and how he's expanded his range throughout his career to change the game that way as well. And you look at all the young kids and fans watching the game and seeing how seeing what he's doing on the court and trying to replicate it. It's really just incredible the impact that he's had in the NBA community and then also on the court, just how easily he's able to knock down that 3-point shot with a hand in his face, how he's able to do it catch and shooting and off some certain cuts and movements, how he's able to do it off the dribble with his step back. and how really with his overall scoring ability too, he's actually a great interior player as well and a great ball handler, which people don't talk about this enough, is how, because everyone focuses on how Curry's an amazing three-point shooter and he's an amazing off-ball mover, but he's also a great interior scorer. He's very crafty around the rim with those finishes, those layups he has. He's a good mid-range player, and he's a great ball handler and dribbler as well. So really, overall, he's an incredible offensive player, and if we're talking offense only, he's definitely, no question, in the top 10 of all time and possibly in the top 5. When we look at Curry's career stats offensively, it's really incredible what he's been doing. Over the course of his entire career in the regular season, he's averaging over 24 points per game, with an astounding 62.5% true shooting over the course of his entire career. To put that in perspective, throughout Curry's career, the league average in the NBA for true shooting has been around 55%. So he's been an incredibly overall efficient scorer, and of course, the greatest three-point shooter of all time, shooting about 43% from 3 in the regular season over the course of his career on about 9 attempts per game, and about a 91% free throw percentage, while also being an incredible playmaker. The stats don't really show that. In assists, he's averaging 6.5 in regular season for his career, but we all know the impact that he can have and how he adapts to defenses, his off-ball movement, how when he gets trapped at the top of the key a lot of the time, he can make a good pass that creates a hockey assist or secondary assist where he's creating a 4-on-3 for his team. Draymond's throwing a lob to someone, and that's just an example. Really, overall, he's an incredible playmaker in a lot of different aspects. So the stats definitely show it, and in the playoffs too, he's a slightly worse player, especially with his efficiency stats, but really the rumor that he's been a poor or underperforming playoff performer is definitely a big myth. And in the playoffs over the course of his career, he's averaging about 26.5 points per game. Still pretty elite efficiency in the playoffs, having a 61% true shooting still 40% from 3 on even higher volume, about 10.5 attempts per game, just under 90% from the free throw line, and about 6.2 assists per game, still having that incredible playmaking impact, which is a big reason why the Warriors have won 4 championships. So there's really no debating that Steph is easily, offensively alone, a top 10 player of all time, probably, if not definitely, a top 5 offensive player of all time, with his incredibly unique abilities offensively, his all-time great shooting, and his great playmaking. In terms of his on-court play, the only argument you can use against him is his defense, because compared to some of the other all-time greats that are in the conversation for top 10 all-time, some of these guys are some of the greatest defenders of all time. But with that being said, I think a lot of people underrate Steph's defense. I think he's definitely an over-average defender, and I would classify him, to be honest, as quite a good defender, especially recently. I think that he's really improved on this aspect of the game as his career's gone on. When you actually watch him play, he has a quite good defensive instincts. He's a good off-ball defender. He gets a lot of steals. He can run out and transition that way, and he's a pretty good interior defender. He can move laterally quite well, and he's actually a very good interior defender as well for his size. When he gets switched onto a big man, he can actually hold his own. We saw this a lot in the series against the Celtics this year alone, when a lot of the time he was switched onto Al Horford, someone who is pretty much 9 inches taller than him, almost a whole foot taller. And while Al Horford is getting old, he's still an incredible player as well. And Curry was doing a good job of holding his own against someone who is almost a foot taller than him. Sometimes they wouldn't even send help in situations where they had that matchup in the post. And I think overall as a defender, Curry's quite underrated. So this is something you have to factor in as well. He's definitely not as good a defender as a lot of the all-time greats that are in the same conversation, but he can definitely do much better than people think just by looking at his size. So my question still is, at this point in his career, do you think that Steph Curry is a top 10 player of all time? Keeping in mind that that would mean that he has to be better than 3 of these next players I'm going to list off: LeBron James, Michael Jordan, Kareem, Kobe, Magic, Shaq, Hakeem Olajuwon, Larry Bird, Tim Duncan, Wilt Chamberlain, Bill Russell, and Kevin Durant. For him to be in the top 10 of all time, he has to be considered all-time better than 3 of those players. So you can't just look at what he's done and say automatically he's top 10. You have to measure out against everyone else, is he actually in the top 10 all time? Because there can't be 13 or 14 all-time top 10 players. There can only be 10 top 10 all-time players. And I think the NBA community sometimes forgets that. But definitely Steph has given himself a very strong case, and like I said, I'm not going to give my opinion on this today, but I want you guys to in the comments. So comment down below, do you think Steph Curry is top 10 all time in the NBA right now? Yes or no? So go ahead and comment your thoughts, and thank you guys for watching today's video. Hope you enjoyed the analysis. Once again, it was interesting and awesome to see the Warriors back on top and see Steph have so much emotion and have this Warriors team with so many great players with awesome stories win the championship. And it was a great overall NBA season. And if you guys are new to the channel, make sure you subscribe, since I'm still going to be uploading lots of NBA content during the off season, and I'll see you all next video.